Hey dorks, I'm Andy from the Dorks Next Door, and today we are going to be looking at our list of fan favorite MCU characters. We have taken our personal list from friends, and from people on Twitter, and we have created a huge fan favorite list. We're going to be looking at these 25 characters and ranking them from worst to best according to you, the fans. So let's take a look at our fan favorite MCU character list. Now before we jump in, a special honorable mention goes out to Agent Phil Coulson. Sorry I didn't put you on the list, but to be honest, I'm not really sure if you're alive in the MCU or not anymore. Sorry, bro. Number 25, Mantis. Coming in dead last is Mantis, and to be honest, we aren't really surprised at this. Mantis joined the MCU in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, being introduced as Ego's aide. Since then, Mantis has been a part of the comedy relief in her appearances in Infinity War and Endgame. The main issue with Mantis, though, is that she kind of is just there, and she doesn't do a whole lot. Maybe that will change in Guardians 3, but to be honest, I really wouldn't get your hopes up about that. Number 24, Nebula. Staying in the Guardians franchise, the daughter of Thanos, Nebula, comes in at number 24. While she has made every appearance that the Guardians have made, she seems to lack some of the charm that some of the other Guardians have. While she doesn't seem to get a lot of love, Nebula was a strong point in Avengers Endgame. Spending a lot of the time with Tony at the beginning of the film, and then seeing her character arc change as time goes on, Nebula really seems to connect with the audience in the film. Maybe that will continue to happen in the future of the Guardians franchise. Number 23, Wong. The close friend of Doctor Strange, Wong has been right beside Strange from the beginning. From listening to Beyonce to being invited to Tony Stark's wedding, Wong is the true definition of a sidekick. With the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel, it'll be very interesting to see how big of a role Wong will play in the movie. Number 22, Wasp. The daughter of Hank Pym, Hope Van Dyne, was introduced in the MCU in the first Ant-Man movie. While she mainly played the role of training Scott Lang, she didn't seem to do a whole lot in the movie. However, during the credits of the film, we get the teaser of her taking on the Wasp persona in the next movie, and that is exactly what happened. Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place right after Civil War, and shows the restraint that Scott's trip to Germany had on them. We get to see Wasp in action for most of the movie, but unfortunately the movie just isn't that great. She does appear in Avengers Endgame, but besides showing up to help Scott and join the other women in that epic moment, she didn't do much. Hopefully we get to see more development from her character in the future. Number 21, War Machine. James Rhodes shows up in the very beginning of the MCU alongside his friend Tony Stark. However, we don't get to see War Machine until the second film. While we do see an actor change, and a better one at that, the character unfortunately doesn't do a whole lot. He is mainly there as a sidekick for Tony and tries to talk him off the ledge several times. We do get some great character growth in Civil War when he is shot out of the sky by Vision and everyone thought he was dead. We get to see him grow in Infinity War by putting aside his difference with Cap and his gang to try and save the world. He does seem to do a lot more in Endgame by keeping tabs on Hawkeye and reporting to Black Widow. However, the movie is just so big and he isn't one of the core characters, and so he kind of falls to the side. Rhodey is still alive in the MCU and walking around, so I'm sure this isn't the last time that we get to see him on the big screen. Number 20, Drax. I would like to point out that Dave the Animal Batista was a very confusing casting choice at the time for many, including me, a lifelong wrestling fan. But I have to say he has done a great job with the character. Unfortunately, the character itself just isn't that exciting. In the comics, Drax the Destroyer was created to specifically kill Thanos, but in the MCU that obviously wasn't going to happen. So instead, he kind of became the weird uncle in the family that you just don't trust around the kids. He is sort of the comedy relief, but so is everyone else in the Guardians, and he just doesn't seem to connect with the audience that well. Drax is still kicking around and could end up playing an important role in the Guardians' third film, but only time will tell. Number 19, Nick Fury. The man behind it all, the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., the king of the eye patch, Nick Fury has been in it from the beginning. Obviously, in the later films, Fury has taken a step back to allow the bigger and better characters take the limelight, but we can't forget how crucial Nick Fury was in the beginning. We see him in the end credits of Iron Man and Thor. He shows up to the newly resurrected Captain America, and he plays a vital role in both Iron Man 2 and the Avengers. He is responsible for bringing all of these characters that we love so dearly together. He shows up again in Winter Soldier, and it is probably my favorite appearance of him. Before this movie, he was there to just mainly talk and shoot his pistol every once in a while. But in Winter Soldier, we get to see one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s greatest agents ever. He does sprinkle in appearances in Avengers Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame, as well as Captain Marvel and Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm sure we haven't seen the last of Nicholas J. Fury. Number 18, Gamora. Thanos' favorite daughter, Gamora, is definitely a tough one to tell. She absolutely has her moments in the MCU, but we are still waiting for that breakout moment. We obviously get to see her skill set very early on in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but she kind of just stays in the same spot throughout the entire movie and the rest of the movies. However, in Infinity War, we get to see a lot of character growth. Seeing the impact of Thanos on her life and how much weight that holds over her is one of the highlights of the movie. Seeing how Thanos kidnapped and brainwashed her into becoming the fiercest woman in the galaxy really put her character into perspective, to the point of her death in Infinity War that hit a lot harder than it would have. Things get kind of tricky with her character in Endgame though, because the Gamora that we had been watching on the big screen for a few years was now dead, and an older yet newer version of the character is what's left. But there is a lot of intrigue around her character heading into the third installment of the franchise. Number 17, Vision. The carrier of the Mind Stone and the lover of Scarlet Witch, which is still kind of weird to say, Vision came onto the scene in a big way. Taking the voice of Jarvis, Vision was created by Ultron to become the human form of himself. However, after some meddling from those darn Avengers, Vision was created by a lightning bolt of Thor. Vision showed off his power by teaming up with the Avengers to defeat Ultron once and for all, or at least for now. We then see Vision joining Team Iron Man to stop Captain America from not signing the Accords and trying to free Bucky. And then he gets injured in Infinity War, survives for a while, then dies from Scarlet Witch, but then is brought back by Thanos to just be killed again. So yeah, Vision hasn't done a whole lot in the MCU, to be honest, and our time with Vision seemed to end a lot sooner than we had expected. But we will get to see the character again in the upcoming WandaVision Disney Plus show, and I surely cannot wait for that. Number 16, Captain Marvel. Well, this one will be fun. Probably the most controversial character, or at least casting. The hype and buzz around this movie and character didn't really start off that great. People hated the fact that Brie Larson was casted in the role, and therefore a lot of people bashed it online before it even came out. However, to my surprise and the surprise of many, Captain Marvel hit $1 billion at the box office. This character is kind of hard to rank, to be honest, because we just haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with her. She has her own movie, which, let's be honest, isn't that bad. I mean, it's not that great, but it isn't that bad. And then we get to see her for maybe 20 minutes in Endgame. So we haven't got much time with the character, but we do know that she is crazy powerful and will probably play a large role in the future of the MCU, which I, for one, am excited for. Number 15, Star-Lord. Coming in at 15 is Star-Lord. One of the funniest characters around, Star-Lord has been a star for the Guardians of the Galaxy. While his jokes and comedy don't always hit, he is very charming and charismatic. From the beginning, Peter Quill has had a lot of intrigue around the character, especially after hearing that Chris Pratt would be playing him. While Star-Lord hasn't always made the best decisions, looking at you, Infinity War, the depth and arc of the character can't be denied. He has clearly made a big change from the first Guardians movie without losing that charm and humor that we love about the character. I'm sure that his search for Gamora will take place in Guardians 3, and there's no telling what adventures he will go on in that movie. Number 14, Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is very similar to a lot of these middle tier characters. However, the potential for this character is extremely high. After starting off as somewhat of a villain in Age of Ultron, by the end of the film she was joining the Avengers and becoming part of the team. She ends up playing a pretty pivotal role in Civil War after she caused the death of many innocent civilians, which brings up the discussion for the Accords. However, that is just the beginning of her powers. We see just how powerful she is in Infinity War, and even more so in Endgame. There are very few people that can get Thanos on his heels and have to call for reinforcements, but Scarlet Witch did. She does become this very complex character in Infinity War, after having to kill her true love, then for their plan just to completely fail. I'm sure we will see more of this character being fleshed out over her Disney Plus show, WandaVision, and her appearance in the Doctor Strange sequel coming up. Number 13, Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes, aka Winter Soldier, finds himself just outside of the top 10. The best friend of Captain America has been through just about everything so far, From nearly dying in the first Avenger, to becoming a super killer for Hydra, to fighting his best friend, to being outed as the killer of Tony Stark's parents, and really being the reason why the Avengers broke up. However, the character has definitely come a long way. His backstory is very complex and should make it hard for people to like him, but honestly, because Cap trusts him so much, it makes it easier for us to trust him as well. While he didn't do much in Infinity War and Endgame, the real fun for the character will begin with the upcoming Disney Plus show, The Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm sure he will become a key part of the MCU in the future. Number 12, Doctor Strange. The master of the mystic arcs, Doctor Strange is one of the characters with the brightest futures. Just like most of these other characters, Strange has sort of taken the back seat to the main six, and to be honest, I'm totally okay with that. With that being said, the character is most definitely going to be a key player in the MCU. From his name being dropped in Winter Soldier to his own solo movie, Strange has been around for a while, but we haven't got to know the character very well. He obviously played a huge role in Infinity War, and he even spoiled the title for the 4th Avengers movie for us.
We're in the endgame now.
After the death of Tony Stark, I am sure that Doctor Strange, along with the other characters that are still around, will be there to pick up the pieces and take on whatever threat is around the corner. Number 11, the Hulk. The second ever MCU film starring the Hulk was just bad. Let's be honest. From that point on until the first Avengers movie, fans were very nervous about how the big green baddie would be, but man did the character recover nicely. A majority of that credit goes to Mark Ruffalo, who had to pick up the broken pieces that Edward Norton left, and he turned it into something special. Honestly, every appearance that the Hulk made was gold. From fighting Thor in the Avengers, to fighting Iron Man in Age of Ultron, to fighting Thor once again in Ragnarok, the character was just special every time he was on the screen. Obviously, the Hulk didn't show up for very long in Infinity War, but his reasons were valid. But the biggest disappointment around the character is that we never got to see the rematch between Thanos and Hulk. Then we get to Endgame, and we meet Professor Hulk, and it was honestly just okay. It wasn't anything that the fans thought it would be, but he does get that great moment of coming full circle, being the one to snap his fingers and bring back half the universe. The Hulk is still around and will most definitely be showing up in the MCU again. More than likely showing up in the She-Hulk Disney Plus show, but could also become a future villain for our band of new heroes to face. Number 10, Hawkeye. Probably the most made fun of character, Hawkeye comes in at number 10 on this list, and he absolutely deserves it. From showing up for 5 seconds in Thor, to being mind-controlled by Loki, to being the only one with reason and logic in Age of Ultron, Clint Barton is truly the most underappreciated superhero of all time. We see Clint again in Civil War, breaking out Scarlet Witch and fighting his best friend Natasha. Unfortunately, he doesn't show up for Infinity War, but boy did they have something special for him in Endgame. After losing his entire family from the snap, Hawkeye takes on the Ronin persona and goes on this bloodthirsty murdering spree. He kills several gangs and organizations like the Yakuza to make up for him losing his family. Fortunately, Natasha is able to talk him out of it, and he goes back to join the Avengers in the fight against Thanos. Hawkeye is still around, and don't you know he is getting his own Disney Plus show as well, where he will be training and bringing up his replacement, Kate Bishop, and I am truly stoked about it. Number 9, Rocket and Groot. By far the most loved characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, we couldn't separate Rocket and Groot from each other. Both characters stole the hearts of the MCU fans from their first appearance on the big screen. Rocket with his humor, wit, and just not caring attitude, and Groot being this lovable, adorable, killing monster. Both characters were gold. The greatest intrigue about both of these guys, but especially Rocket, is the fact that we don't know where he came from or who created him. We do see him grow over the span of Guardians and Guardians 2, where he learns to trust and love his new family. After almost losing Groot, we can see the impact that their friendship has, and it is why it hurts so much more to watch Groot turn to dust in front of Rocket. The best moments with these characters are their adventures with Thor and their epic entrance into the Battle of Wakanda. Both of these characters are still around after Endgame, and who knows what the future holds for these two lovable creatures in Guardians 3. Number 8, Falcon. Sam Wilson came onto the scene at the beginning of Winter Soldier, where he helps Cap defeat Hydra and take down S.H.I.E.L.D. From that point on, Falcon has been right by Cap's side, aiding him along the way. From continually searching for Bucky to helping them escape Team Iron Man in Civil War, Falcon is someone that Cap could trust, and so could we. Obviously, the relationship between Falcon and Winter Soldier has always been interesting and entertaining, and it's only going to get better from here with their upcoming Disney Plus show. However, the best moment for Falcon by far is at the end of Endgame, where Captain America gives him his shield and basically anoints him as the new Captain America. Seeing Sam Wilson take the reins of the Captain America persona will be a lot of fun and something that the character truly deserves. Number 7, Black Widow. The best double agent ever, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, has been in the MCU since Iron Man 2. She has always seemed to be a fan favorite, and that was solidified the more she showed up. From working with the Avengers to her and Cap working together to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. to her helping both Tony and Cap in Civil War, the character has grown and become more complex. People loved the character and wanted to see more of her, which is why she was one of the characters with the lowest chance of dying in Endgame, and boy did it rip our hearts out when she did. Black Widow was the glue that held everything together, and you get to see that struggle in Endgame. She struggles with the fact that Clint has gone crazy. The only family she had ever known really broke up and failed, and that everything she loved was gone. And that is why she was willing to make the sacrifice play to bring everyone else back. Fortunately, we get to see Black Widow one more time, as she has an upcoming solo film. And while it will be nice to see her get her own movie, it will definitely be a bittersweet moment. Number 6, Ant-Man. The little man that no one cared about shocked the world by having one of the better Marvel origin movies. No one gave Ant-Man a chance, and look at him now, coming in at 6th on this list. Scott Lang is one of the better characters in the MCU. He is funny, smart, and just all around a great character, and a majority of that credit goes to Paul Rudd for bringing him to life. We then get to see Ant-Man again in Civil War, where we get to see Giant Man for the first time, and it was absolutely awesome to see. However, Ant-Man and the Wasp was a couple of steps back for the character. In the first film, Scott was smart and able to figure things out, while in this movie he was an idiot, and he had to have his hand held the entire time. It really made the character look weak and unappealing. However, all of that changed in Endgame, because Scott was the one who came up with the idea for time travel. He was able to show how smart he was again, and was a big help in saving the universe and bringing everyone back. We know for sure that we are getting an Ant-Man 3, and I am excited to see where the character goes and how much of a role he will play in the MCU. Number 5, Iron Man. The face of the franchise, the man that started it all, Tony Stark comes in at 5th on this list, but to be honest was number 1 on my personal list. By far, Tony has had the best character arc in the MCU, and one might argue of any character ever. From being this overly cocky character in Iron Man to saving the entire universe on more than one occasion, Tony Stark is one of the greatest characters ever. Fans clamored for his interaction with the other Avengers, especially Cap, and to watch them go from hating each other in the Avengers to being a full-fledged team in Age of Ultron, it really made the wait worth it. Seeing his relationship with Pepper, Cap, Rhodey, and Peter Parker, we saw how much these relationships matter to him. A common theme for a lot of these top characters is watching them fall to get back up again and come back stronger. From nearly dying from his own weapons, to nearly dying in that portal over New York, to losing his relationship with Pepper, to losing his friendship with Cap, to losing the closest thing he had to his son in Peter, Tony Stark has been through a lot. Which is why watching him make the sacrifice play to kill Thanos in Endgame was such a bittersweet and powerful moment. He gave up everything to save everyone else, and to that all I have to say is, Tony, we love you 3000. Number 4, Black Panther. Making his debut in Civil War, Black Panther from the beginning has been a fan favorite character. His first appearance as the Panther on screen was undoubtedly an amazing scene, and getting to see him next to the Avengers was a highlight. The first Black Panther film was a massive success across the board. While the CGI isn't great, the film itself is extremely strong. While the argument can be made that it focuses on Wakanda more than Black Panther himself, it's still a great showing for the character. In Infinity War, Black Panther was a star. From exploring more of Wakanda to seeing him as a general and protecting his people was a big moment. While he didn't do much in Endgame, the future is bright for the character, and will more than likely become a leader for the Avengers in the future. Number 3, Thor. Thor coming in at number 3 is kind of a shocking thing when you look at how the character was first received in the MCU. Often regarded as boring or one-dimensional, Thor was often overlooked for the other Avengers. However, all of that changed when Thor Ragnarok came out and flipped the character upside down. Taika Waititi turned the boring character into something that fans absolutely love and adore now. We really got to see Thor grow over Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. In Ragnarok, he watched his father die, his sister was trying to kill him, and Asgard was completely destroyed. In Infinity War, he watched his brother die, half his people slaughtered, and watched half the universe disappear as he failed to kill Thanos. In Endgame, he was able to kill Thanos, but not properly, let himself go from depression, and lost the trust of his people. While all of that is bad, we saw him grow during these times as well. He became a great king for Asgard in Ragnarok. He had the best entrance in Wakanda, which is probably the loudest I've ever heard an audience react in the theater, and was able to defeat Thanos in Endgame. And the best part is, we aren't even done with this character yet, as Thor Love and Thunder is coming out soon, and we get to spend more time with this character. Number 2, Captain America. Coming in at number 2 is the first Avenger himself, Captain America. Similar to Thor, a character that wasn't that loved in the beginning of his run, but over time slowly won the hearts of everyone. From sacrificing himself to waking up in a new world he didn't know, Steve Rogers quickly became the heart and soul of the MCU. While Tony was more than likely the face of the franchise, Cap was the leader, the guide. He was strong, he was smart, and was willing to stand up for what he believed in, even when it meant going against his friends. Captain America really began to pick up the pace in Winter Soldier, but was solidified as a fan favorite in Civil War. His epic entrance in Infinity War was one of the loudest crowd reactions I've ever heard, and his beard was just absolutely beautiful. And finally, we got to hear him utter the words "Avengers Assemble," and see him pick up and use Mjolnir almost better than Thor ever did. Seeing him stand alone against Thanos and his army shows why he is forever the heart and soul of the MCU. While some fans aren't happy with how his story arc ended, shocker I know, I think it personally was the best option for him. The guy who gave up everything to be a soldier got a redo and spend the rest of his life with his best girl. We love you, Cap. And number 1, Spider-Man. The obvious choice for most fans is Spider-Man. Coming in with over 50% of the number 1 vote, he has been a fan favorite long before he joined the MCU. Making his debut in Civil War, which thanks Marvel for showing us in the trailer, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has quickly stolen the hearts of MCU fans everywhere. The best part about this Spider-Man is that we are going to be able to watch him grow up before our very eyes. While Peter is still in high school, the success of Far From Home will more than likely allow for Spider-Man to get more than just 3 films. Seeing the character being dragged through the mud of not being trusted by Tony, dying in Infinity War, and then dealing with the death of his mentor and father figure has really made people fall in love with the character. With how much the MCU has changed over the last year or so, it is very clear that Spider-Man is going to be at the forefront of the franchise. And to be honest, it is right where he should be. Who knows what is capable with this character, and how he could help introduce new faces to the MCU for years to come. But do you agree with the list? Let us know how you would rank these characters. And who knows, we may do an update video on the list later on. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at DorksNextDoor. You can follow me on Twitter at IamAndyYork. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, turn on those notifications, and go check out our website, www.dorksnextdoor.com. We are bringing back the podcast very, very soon. We are doing some live streaming as well, some gaming streaming as well. So make sure you hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys in the next video.